Okay, let's dive into something that's, well, it's a huge paradox playing out in the business world right now. You've got the world's largest companies, the ones with practically unlimited resources, and yet they're struggling. They're finding it incredibly hard to get past the most basic AI tools and into what's next, the truly game-changing age of autonomous systems. So what's the deal? So check this out. Recent surveys show that a whopping 90% of leaders at major organizations are all over generative AI. They know it's a massive deal. They know they have to be on top of it. I mean, it's on every single boardroom agenda. But then you see this, and this is where the picture gets really weird. Despite all that awareness, only a tiny fraction, just 6%, have actually trained their workforce on anything beyond the most basic tools. For all practical purposes, they are completely and totally stuck. And you know, this state of being stuck? It has a name. Some are calling it pilot purgatory. It's this place where companies are just trapped with dozens of small, scattered AI experiments that never, ever scale. A little tool here, a small pilot there, but nothing that changes the whole system. They've all slammed right into what we can call the co-pilot ceiling. Now, to really get why they've hit this wall, you have to understand that we're talking about two fundamentally different worlds of AI. On one side, you've got your basic co-pilots. Think of them as assistants. They help optimize the work you're already doing, and the business case is super simple: cut costs. But on the other side, you've got agentic AI. These aren't assistants, they're actors. They don't just optimize work, they fundamentally redesign it from the ground up. And their value isn't about saving money, it's about creating entirely new kinds of value. This quote from our source material just perfectly captures the tension here. These organizations are trying to pour new, volatile wine into very old, rigid bottles. You've got the leadership team seeing this amazing potential with autonomous AI, but the company's actual structure, and maybe more importantly, its culture, is absolutely terrified of the risk. They're scared to death of what happens when you let go of the controls. So that central tension is exactly what we're going to diagnose now. Let's really unpack the blueprint of this invisible wall by looking at the 5 specific, systemic barriers that are holding these corporate giants back. So here they are. You can almost think of them as the 5 horsemen of the AI apocalypse for big business. You've got the legacy system quagmire, something called hallucination paralysis, deep cultural resistance, the classic dirty data problem, and finally, misaligned incentives. Let's break each one down. First up, the very foundation is shaky. The core functions of these massive companies, we're talking finance, manufacturing, procurement, it's all running on these brittle 30-year-old systems like SAP and Oracle. And these systems are basically hostile to modern AI. Trying to connect a sophisticated agent to one of these is like putting a Formula One race car on a muddy, potholed country road. All that power is just completely useless. And that technical friction, it creates fear, which leads us straight to our second barrier, hallucination paralysis. Because the stakes are just so different. I mean, if a basic co-pilot makes a mistake, you might get an embarrassing email. It's annoying, but you live. But what if an autonomous agent makes a mistake in a multi-million-dollar procurement decision? Whoa, that's not an email. That's a corporate catastrophe that lands you on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. And that fear is absolutely paralyzing. This fear has a really deep human root, which brings us to the third and maybe the toughest barrier, cultural resistance. Just think about a middle manager whose entire identity and job has been built around supervisory approvals and manual checks. Then an autonomous agent comes along that can handle 80% of that workflow. All of a sudden, their entire purpose is being challenged. This isn't a technology problem. It's an emotional problem, all wrapped up in a job title. Barrier number 4 is the problem that haunts pretty much every digital transformation project ever: dirty data. The reality inside most large companies is just chaos. Data is locked in systems that don't talk to each other, it's inconsistent, it's poorly labeled, it's just incoherent. And trying to build an autonomous system on that foundation of chaos is an absolute guarantee of failure. You know, the saying, garbage in, garbage out, gets amplified 1,000 times when the output is a high-stakes corporate action. And finally, there's the organizational problem that fails time and time again: misaligned incentives. As this table shows, agentic AI projects have to be cross-functional. But what happens when the project's costs are all dumped on one department's budget, like IT, but all the benefits go to another, like manufacturing? Well, the project might make perfect sense for the company as a whole, but it dies in a budget review meeting because no single department head wants to take all the financial risk. Okay, that diagnosis is pretty clear. It's a perfect storm of technical debt, fear, cultural friction, and budget fights. So let's pivot. If you're a leader who's determined to break through this wall, what do you actually need to build? What are the non-negotiables for a successful agentic AI platform? Well, it turns out the cure directly mirrors the disease. To build a true agentic engine, you need 5 things: robust governance, seamless integration, sophisticated orchestration, a structured human in the loop, and deep customization. Let's look at what each of these actually means in practice. First, to solve for that fear and paralysis, you need robust governance. And this isn't just a summary. We're talking about a genuine AI black box recorder. The system has to automatically log every single decision, every data source it touched, and every API call it made. An auditor has to be able to ask why a multi-million-dollar purchase was approved 3 weeks ago and get a clear step-by-step answer that would actually hold up in court. Next, to deal with that legacy system quagmire, you need seamless integration. This means your platform has to come pre-equipped with secure, reliable, standardized connectors for those old-school legacy systems, your SAPs, your Oracles. The agent has to be able to bridge the gap to your existing infrastructure, not demand a 5-year rip-and-replace project that's going to fail anyway. Third, to manage all that complexity and risk, you need orchestration. So instead of one massive, failure-prone agent trying to do everything, you have a team of specialized agents. One agent does the research, another analyzes the data, and a third executes the action. This approach builds in resilience. If one small agent fails, it doesn't bring down the entire process. Number 4 is all about redefining the human's role with a structured human in the loop. The agent must have crystal clear roles on when to escalate. It should present options, ask for clarification on strategic goals, and always require a final human sign-off before taking any high-stakes, irreversible action. This ensures the human always keeps that final strategic control. And lastly, to create real defensible value, you need customization. The agents can't just be generic. They have to be fine-tuned on your company's specific proprietary data, its unique policies, and its business logic. This is how you create an insurmountable competitive moat, an AI that becomes the world's foremost expert in your business and no one else's. So we've diagnosed the problem and we've outlined the solution. But for any leader listening right now, feeling the weight of all this, what is the one concrete, actionable step you can take next week to start moving forward? Here it is, the single most important piece of advice. Start with the process, not the technology. Do not fall into the trap of asking, what cool new AI tool can we buy? That is the fast track right back to pilot purgatory. Instead, do this. First, gather a cross-functional team. You absolutely need IT, legal, and the business unit in the same room. Second, together, map out one core end-to-end business process that you know is currently slow, expensive, and loaded with data. And third, ask the transformative question. What would it look like if this could just run autonomously? Because when you map out that future autonomous state, the gaps you find in your data quality, in your system integrations, in your governance policies, that right there becomes your strategic blueprint. It instantly reveals the constraints that actually matter. You stop chasing theoretical benefits, and you start solving real, existing problems with a truly transformative tool. Which brings us to the final, lingering question. If the biggest barriers to this incredible competitive advantage are internal, things like culture and fear, then how quickly will the lack of an AI-native mindset shift from being just an obstacle to becoming the primary existential threat for a company? Because that is the real battleground where the future is going to be decided.